Don't you hate wrestling with predictability? The garbage man, the sexy boy, boring ass TV? How did I get to work in here? Somebody tell me, please. The WWF is confusing to me. With Vince as mean as you've ever seen. I told old Patterson I'm done here in June. When a sudden voice inside me whispered, Vinny, don't sell your dream so soon. And everywhere I look, there's a Ted with a hand to hold on to. And everywhere I look, there's a place and a promotion who needs you. And it's there you'll book when you're lost out there and you're all alone. And WCW's waiting to carry you home. It's there you'll book. And it's there I'll book. A doobity-ba-ba-ba, headed to Atlanta and listen to this podcast. It's all right, even though it fucking makes fun of everything I've ever done. Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to episode 31 of Are You Smarter Than Vince Russo's WCW? I'm Scott Shiflett. Joining me as always on the night the world changed. It's Logan Crossland. Logan, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, we're rebooting Nitro tonight. I wish I could reboot my body at certain points today because I've been hurting because I had to work on this great Labor Day. I had to actually labor, which is probably a little bit of bullshit, but yeah, reboots all around is what we need. So, but yeah, good reboot tonight for Nitro. We'll see. We'll get into it, how we kind of felt about it, but I'm more interested to kind of see maybe where we go from this because I was feeling pretty good coming out of this episode, but we'll kind of talk about it.
Yeah, this is a fun episode of Nitro. I'm glad we have a vision. That's what we feel. We'll have to see what happens next. You got me thinking of reboots. This is a hypothetical, and I don't want to get too deep on a wrestling podcast, but here goes. If you could reboot your life, Logan, go back to the age of 8 with all the knowledge you have now, would you do it?
That is a good question. Probably not, but I did quite enjoy being a child and in high school and stuff like that. So I might want to relive that stuff. So I'm not sure is the real answer, I guess, but probably no.
I mean, I would still want to be with Emily, so I would have to keep that. You'd have to keep that the same, but I would make some financial decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would probably do.
Scrounge up some money for some stuff.
Mm-hmm,
yeah. So no, that's. But yeah, I'm sure you still want to be with your wife. So
absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know. It depends on the day.
No, I would. But I might have taken a few more chances in some parts of life between here and there, but not.
Yeah, but then that's the thing. Would that still lead you to your wife? So it's damn, I still got to be, So it's like a whole fucking thing. I've thought about this when I couldn't sleep at night, Logan.
If
I
that's
got you.
what you're
Yeah, so
wondering.
probably not is the real answer because that would change a lot of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like Back to the Future, which I'm sure you haven't seen, and you're just gonna piss me off.
It's
So.
actually one of my favorite movies. So, fuck you.
Oh, thank God, Logan. If you were gonna tell me you haven't fucking seen it, we might have just ended this podcast 4 minutes in of our
I would
record
have ended
time, and I just
would
tell
have ended
Sean.
myself. So,
Yeah, I just would have told Sean I can't fucking do a podcast with him right now. Until he sees Back to the Future, so it's on you to make sure he watches that. But no, let's jump in, Logan. I call it D-Day. That was my note here for this. I guess if that was the title of the episode would have been D-Day, but it's the April 10th, 2000 version of Nitro, guys. We all know it. It's I think WCW is going to make a move. This is his last gasp before it's circling the drain right now. Some say it might already be down there. Tony welcomes us in and say this is the night the world changed, which I said at the top. And Tony says Nitro turns the page on a new chapter and says it's a new day. And then he says it's a brand new day. And we see that's what I was thinking as well when he was saying it. So we see what we see when we go is most of the WCW wrestlers are in the ring and around the ring, and it's like even some people I've never seen. Maybe they were seen on that YouTube roulette last show we just did about the last WCW Saturday night with the hardcore match, which was just insane. Hardcore ladder match. Check that out. That's once a month here on the Backbone Wrestling Network. But they're mentioning Vince Russo off the back and wondering where he's at. And then like a music hits and out comes The Wall and Scott Steiner, followed by Booker T, Vampiro, The Cat, Billy Kidman, and Tori. For some fucking reason, Van Hammer and Lynn Jeff Jarrett. One of these is not like the other, Logan. That's fucking Van Hammer, who somehow has had a job here on and off for almost 10 years. He's probably the worst wrestler I've ever seen. Madden says he doesn't see other wrestlers, which, hint, hint tonight. And Madden even says they're wondering if there will be a firing tonight and says that Russo is the powers that be. Jeff Jarrett gets on the mic and says, when I came to WCW 6 months ago, he said I was the chosen one and handpicked to be the next WCW champ. Jeff says my future was in the hands of the man who turned around WWF. Jeff says our master plan got derailed by a pack of good old boys who weren't in his league and they knew it. Jeff says he has one thing to say and say what goes around comes around and introduces to the man who once was Vince McMahon's best kept secret and who will change the game and introduces Vince Russo. So, we're real inside baseball there, Logan, with like what's been going on. I know there have been rumors of like, I don't know how real this is, of like just going back to like before Hogan was in the WCW, like going back before it was for the NWO as well, just starting a clean slate like that. Or like I don't know, of like the past couple of years, just a weird, strange Sting's dream, which I believe might have forced Sean to die if that would have been what happened. But them just saying like, oh, Vince Russo, the guy who like helped WWF turn it around, is now beating our ass, which they beat into the ground the whole night. Probably not the best way to introduce him, but
yeah.
So I say out comes this fucking moron. It's first time seeing his ugly mug, and like he acts like he's like the hottest shit. They talk about how he got kicked to the curb earlier this year, and then Madden says he's not in charge by himself, and they ask where Eric Bischoff is. Russo says after giving 6, we need to get JT to do this, Logan, because it's just so good. Yeah. Vince says after giving 6 years of my life to WWF, I came to WCW one thing in mind, to beat Vince at his own game. Vince says the new blood was changing the game. It really wasn't when you look at like the important metrics of like ratings, pay-per-view buys, house show. It was in the fucking toilet. Then says the good old boy network kicked in, afraid of change in their jobs. Says political BS in the back screwed him, and they are all watching at home now. Vince says the change in direction sucked. Was it his change in direction or the change in direction? Both of them suck. Let's be real. And Vince says change in direction sucks. Says he wasn't the only one who knew. Says the Radicals and Douglas knew, and they are all gone. Says Steiner knew, and he was suspended. I think it's a good delineation right there to put Radicals with Douglas and make it look like badass. It brings it even better for what happens later tonight. Russo says it's over, and Vince Russo is back in charge again. Vince says the Old Boys Network is over. The Old Boys afraid to lose their spot is over. Vince says it's to seize the opportunity. And then we hear Bischoff on the mic says, "Are you done yet?" And he comes out. Wrestlers are shaking their head when he comes out. Probably, we didn't expect to see him after he got fired in September. Bischoff gets in the ring. Looks like they're about to fight. Then, of course, they hug because it's a swerve, bro. Eric says this man's Vince Russo. We have more in common than anyone thinks. Says the big thing is they were both screwed by the Good Old Boys Network. Eric says he doesn't mind because it's given an opportunity to think about the good things and the mistakes he's made. He says mistakes like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Sting, DDP, and Sid wish he was vicious. And he says the biggest mistake he ever made was Hulk Hogan. I said, finally, the fucking truth has came out. Wrestlers actually clap for that because we talked about before how Hogan was going on like Man Cow and Bubba the Fat Sponge, talking about how everyone in WWE sucked. There was no one could draw over 40, all this other stuff. And Bischoff says he was blinded by the red and yellow. He apologizes to the new blood, and if anything he can do for Vince Russo to help him and you, says this is a whole new WCW. Bischoff asks where DDP, Sting, and says, where are they at? DDP and Sting come out, and they stand on the, they call it the Turnotron, but they stand on the Turnotron. Luger comes out too. Eric says, for once, you showed up ready to work. Then Sid comes out, and he says, what, Sid? No softball game, no golf game for Lex. And then they really make fun of DDP's fans being fucking white trash. He says, DDP, what about the 7 fans of yours at the trailer park who want to autograph your new book? Says Sting, what, no Hollywood premiere tonight? Says, glad they are here tonight. DDP says, Bischoff better step off. Eric says, screw you, and said without him, he'd be at some redneck bar. Eric asked where everyone was at the past 6 months where he was gone. Eric says, I made you, and I sure as hell can break you. Says it's time we have a level playing field. Vince Russo says, I got something that I want to say that's personal. Russo says, I got something to say. I want to say something about Ric Flair. Says he's a piece of shit on the bottom of his shoe and says he's going to flush his ass down the toilet personally. Then he looks at Jeff and says, you got to trust me. And he gets Jeff to hand over the U.S. title. We find out that all titles are now stripped. Russo says it's a brand new playing field. As the titles are handed over, the Harris brothers turn in their title. Eric says there's one more belt, and that let me know who's holding it is Sid. Sid gets on the mic and says, come and take it to Eric. Eric says, okay, and asks Sid where his scissors are. Mark Madden acts like he just called, Eric called Sid a motherfucker the way he's acting, but the fans don't really give a fuck at all because they don't know. They're not as inside as Russo and Eric believe. My note here is the announcers act like Eric called Sid a slur. Sid gives the title, and Eric says, you'll see who the real champ will be on the 16th, which is the Sunday. Eric takes the belt to the ring. We get a loud Goldberg chant, and then we go to the announce desk. But before we get there, Logan, this is a big change. All the titles are vacant. I think that's good. We got lines set up of, I'm just going to call them now, the New Blood and the Millionaires Club. Problem is, the Millionaires Club is only like 7 wrestlers, and the New Blood is 37 wrestlers. So it's like kind of run into the same NWO versus WCW issue they had, where the NWO was beating ass and everything. But a very good start, like a lot of inside baseball stuff, which I'm sure me and you like because we're doing a fucking wrestling podcast, so we know about what was happening at the time, and we've read about it now and books, shoot interviews, podcasts, all that stuff. But what did you think of this opening segment?
Yeah, I mean, it carried on probably a little longer than it probably should have, but they needed to get a lot of stuff across. Really buried the old timers, made a lot of good, pot shots here and there with like the scissors stuff with Sid and the softball stuff and the golf games and just being old men and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's good to see them kind of acting like they're going to focus on a newer generation, maybe build some new stars, have some new guys be atop the card. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, it was a little bit long, but it was good to see a lot of the guys out there. It was funny seeing Russo out there with some people like Mona or Molly Holly, whatever you're going to call her. She was fired by the powers that be way back when. And it was funny kind of seeing people like her out there, despite the fact that she had been fired by the very same person that was going to focus on her going forward now. But yeah, it was a good segment, kind of reset things. But yeah, I thought it was a solid segment.
Logan, I had no idea she was still with the company. Like that,
Yeah,
I mean, I know we're just watching Nitro and Thunders, but like, I had no idea. Do you think it was a good idea to put Russo and Bischoff together on screen as the heads of the New Blood instead of like Russo versus Bischoff?
I think it would have been cool if they did Russo versus Bischoff, but I think both of them were pretty unlikable, especially at this point in history in 2000. So I think it was probably a good idea to make them kind of like the bad guys be kind of the two heel authority figures or whatever, because obviously that was working a lot in WWE at this point, so they were just trying to recreate something like that. I don't know that the new guys should be the bad guys necessarily, but as much as we hate it and as much as it's kind of just a narrative that's kind of annoying that nobody can draw other than the guys that have been there for forever, but they are the guys that get cheered regardless of whether they should or not at this point. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that the new guys should necessarily be the bad guys in the scenario, but I think they were kind of playing off the crowd that they had at that point, because people were still cheering Hogan. People are still going to cheer Flair. People are still going to cheer DDP now and Sid, of course. But like Luger, maybe not. And obviously they were going to cheer Sting. So I understand why they went that way, but I think the authority figure, one of them being a good guy, really wasn't going to work, especially if it was Bischoff, because I think a lot of people at this point hated him pretty badly.
I mean, you bring up good points, Logan, about like Bischoff's very unlikable. It might be like a hindsight thing. Also, I know they mentioned it in the Death of WCW book, which I've read a couple of times, but it's just maybe not just bring them back at all. Just have the new guys, because it feels like, as we see, they're fighting like they're doppelgangers. Like, I know you don't watch, you don't read comics, but it's like Earth 2, Logan, where the good guys are the good guys in Earth Earth 0 are the bad guys in Earth 2. So like that's what we're seeing tonight, like with like Sting and Vampiro, Sean Stasiak and Mr. Perfect, like Wall and Sid Vicious, spoiler alert, and Kevin Nash, which we'll get to later on. So like that's what it feels like, and that could have been done without Russo and Bischoff. But it's also very weird that like, why the fuck is Van Hammer walking out there? Like, why is like he's get him away from us type deal? But this needed to be for WCW because Spring Stampede, like we talked about before, is originally going to be Sid versus Hogan, and I don't think anyone wanted that. Not at all.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Like 8 years late from their WrestleMania clusterfuck main event. So, anyways, back to the show. We go to the announce desk, and Tony says WCW has changed. Said the new blood is in charge, and the established talent have to fight for their spot. Madden talks about Russo and Bischoff verbally abusing Flair and Hogan. We see Hogan walking in. We get a commercial break. And then we come back and we see moments ago the New Blood walking out and congratulating each other. For some reason, Van Hammer is like giving shoulder rubs to Vince Russo. I don't know what the fuck's going on either. And then we also see during the commercial break, we see Hogan wrapping his tape, and Sting walks in, and Sting says, Bischoff verbally kicked you between the legs. Hogan says he's on it and walks away. And you hear Sting say, I'm not ribbing you, as like Hogan's walking away. Tony says Bischoff made this announcement, which Logan, they took 20 minutes to talk and didn't bring this up. So Tony has to say it, that 4 men will compete against each other tonight to face Jeff Jarrett at Spring Stampede. Those men are DDP, Sting, Sid, and Lex Luger. DDP comes out, and then halfway through, his music dies, and he gets no pyro. Luger's out, and the same thing happens. The winner of the both matches will face each other tonight to go to Spring Stampede. When Luger's music dies, Madden says if Luger can't pose, he'll quit, which made me laugh. So what do you think of, like, I mean, this is kind of showing the New Blood is right with, like, these wrestlers not fucking showing up one time. Like Hogan, like, we're supposed to believe just showed up, 25 minutes late to work. So and I kind of like they're saying that Jeff Jarrett is the chosen one with him getting an automatic bye to the finals, but we're making these the main event talent fight for it. And I like them saying, like, oh, you're not going to get all this music and pyro anymore, which I thought was pretty funny, which they don't keep up with during the show, which is pretty amazing. They drop their own shit. WCW, everyone. But what do you think of everything before this first match? Because there's not a lot of matches tonight.
Yeah, so when I originally watched this, I think I watched this a couple weeks ago at this point because we were going to record another night and it just didn't happen.
Life happened.
Yeah, I was life happened for both of us, and it just didn't happen that week. But I think I originally said to you, like, I kind of, based on the opening promo, like, why are we giving these old guys even a shot at the title? Like, why don't we just put 4 new guys in a tournament, 2 face each other tonight, or you have 4 or 2 matches tonight. The 4 of them compete. Whoever wins those 2 goes on to the finals. That's a pay-per-view. Why don't we just get all new blood in there if the idea is to, like, launch this new thing? Now, I get we're trying to be, like, not showing favoritism and we're giving them an equal opportunity to win the championship, but, like, why would you even give the old guys a shot at the title if the whole idea is to kind of go in a new direction? Obviously, I think I kind of have a feeling about where we're coming out of this, so I think that's going to end up working out for them either way. But yeah, I mean, that was my initial thought, was like, why are we even putting the old guys in this tournament? Why don't we just put, Steiner versus Jarrett, or Booker versus Jarrett, or, Jarrett versus other, babyface new blood guy, or just anybody really. But I get you're trying to give the old guys an opportunity, or say you at least gave them an opportunity, whether they failed or succeeded or not.
Yeah, what I would do is, like, you would have, like, the new blood face each other, like you said, but the old guys get one opportunity. And it's like, you can call it like a Millionaires Club Battle Royal, and that's their only opportunity. And, like, you would show, like, say you have Jeff Jarrett and Billy Kidman face each other, Booker T and The Wall, Scott Steiner and Van Hammer, and the Cats out there or something. And you show, like, Jeff Jarrett running through these guys.
Yeah.
But that would be like, Jeff Jarrett's the babyface. He's the future of the company. Like, and, like, the Millionaires Club, like, spoiler, DDP wins, like, this half-ass battle royal or something. Just show it like that a little bit more, instead of, like, Jeff Jarrett basically getting grandfathered in. I mean, he'll have to fight for a spot later, but come on, Logan. That felt like, when that was announced, I was like, okay, like, come on. It's not doing anything. But yeah. Exactly. But yeah, this leads us to match 1, DDP versus Total Package. The match starts with collar and elbow tie-up, and the DDP gets a shoulder charge and then a DDT. Madden straight up says that Bischoff and Hogan took turns kissing each other's ass for years, and that would continue until 2025. Spoiler alert. Luger with a shot to DDP's nuts, and then Luger with an axe handle to DDP. Luger's pounding on DDP and chokes him on the ropes. DDP pulls himself up off of the ropes, but Luger punches him and kicks him down the corner. He stopped at the count of 4. DDP pulls himself up again and throws Luger in the corner and punches him. And then when he charges him in the corner, he runs into a Luger boot. Luger hits a clothesline. Luger hits DDP with 3 backbreakers. And then fucking Buff, which Buff should not be part of the New Blood. He should be like the semi-millionaire club, like the $250,000 club. Let's be real. He should not be part of the New Blood. But so Buff is like, Buff's music hits and Luger's like, what the fuck? It distracts him. DDP hits Luger in the nuts and he starts beating him down. Buff goes down and starts hitting on Kimberly, and DDP was distracted. And then Luger hitting with another double axe handle. Buff then moves on to start trying to sexual assault Liz, and this distracts Luger. Luger screams, "What are you doing?" DDP then turns Luger around and hits a diamond cutter. DDP gets 5 seconds of music after he hits. And this was a real nothing match, Logan. Like, I know we don't do match ratings, but this would have been like a 1 or something, maybe a 1.5. But like, it's basically trying to show that like Buff is like some stud guy who's trying to hit on these girls, but gets like shot down. But I don't think Buff could ever be a babyface ever since like when he broke his neck, he didn't turn him a babyface. Now he's just like some douchebag heel. That could also be 2025 talking, but he's very unlikable.
Yeah, I was just say, I think after he went to the NWO the first time, and yeah, with the neck break when it ended up being bullshit. I think after that point, nobody kind of wanted to be a fan of him anymore. I definitely didn't want to cheer him without a doubt. But it's one of those things where like Buff provides a distraction for DDP, but then he gets distracted. DDP gets distracted by Buff, and then it goes back to Luger, and then back to it. I felt like there was like one too many distractions. Like he could have just distracted Luger in the first place, and that could have been the finish. I get it's supposed to be this like, Buff being this like womanizer that flirts with all the girls, or the ladies that bring these guys to the ring or whatever. But I felt like it was like one distraction too many because it was just made everybody in the match look like morons. Not that they technically aren't, I don't guess, but they just really looked dumb. I thought everybody came across in this match looking really dumb. So I don't think it really made anybody look better. So yeah, like you said, if we don't do star ratings, but this would be a 1 star or less match just because it was pretty short. And like I said, nobody looked real good coming out of it. But glad DDP won it out of the two of them. But yeah, not great.
Yeah, and we loved Luger at first with his run, and I think he goes home shortly after this, Logan. He just because he's like fuck Russo, so we'll have to keep track on that. But like we said, Hogan looks like a moron. He's still looking for Bischoff, and he can't find him. It's like fucking Dusty and looking for Sapphire. If you're one of the old OG listeners of Place to Be podcast, but then we come back from commercial break, and Kurt Hennig meets with Russo, and Kurt says, "I was your right-hand man. Why wasn't I made aware of this?" Russo says it was an oversight, and he says, "Tonight, if Kurt can beat Jeff, he will get his shot." So Jeff has to like sort of fight his way in now, but it's like it's Kurt Hennig in the year 2000. Like, come on, like it's not like Mr. Perfect in 1989. So we see Hogan still looking for Bischoff, and then me and Logan's favorite Tank Abbott comes out. Abbott gets on the mic and says he's not a candy-ass wrestler, but he's a shoot fighter. He calls out Goldberg and says, "Bill Goldberg, I come here for you." He says Goldberg then got hurt and ran away. Abbott says until Goldberg fights him, he's going to beat the hell out of innocent victims. Abbott leaves the ring, and he starts looking like he's going to beat up, a camera guy or anyone, and looks at the announcers. And then he grabs Madden Souza, and he beats off Madden Souza, beats up Madden Souza, not beats off, but he beats up Madden Souza. He rips his shirt off and throws him in the ring. He then punches him, and security runs into the ring, but he whoops Madden's ass and just beat the shit out of him. Then Jarrett's with Russo, and Jarrett is mad about having to wrestle, and Russo just says to trust him. We see Billy Kidman walking, and Tori says, "Do you really want to do this?" And he says that he does. And then Hogan sees the stooge, Terry Taylor, and he's asking to find out where Eric is. And then we go to commercial. So, Logan, a lot happened there. Like we said, this is an angle-heavy show, guys. Like, we literally came back from commercial break and had like 5 different things happen. What did you think of everything, buddy?
Yeah, this is one of those. I think I talked to you pre-pod about that. It's like just backstage segment after backstage segment, so you can really tell Russo's back writing things, or at least helping write things, because this was right up his alley from when we were talking about it during the first run and all that. But yeah, Hogan looks like an idiot looking around the arena. We just see Kurt Hennig back randomly. I felt like he was kind of done or gone, or I feel like we hadn't seen him in a little bit. I guess we've just been watching pay-per-views for the last little bit, but it feels like we hadn't seen him in a while, and he was kind of out. I felt like he was on kind of the outs with Russo towards the end as well. But he gets a shot at Jarrett at least, I guess. Hogan still looking. I did love Tank beating the shit out of Mark Souza or Matt Madden, whatever we want to call him.
Mark Souza.
Mark Souza. I think that was quite enjoyable because he really does ragdoll him and beat the crap out of him. So I did really enjoy that.
Yeah, that was, and I'm pretty sure he's gone the rest of the show. Like I said, life happened. We going off my notes. But I think he's gone the rest of the show, Logan. Is that correct? Do we remember?
Are you talking about Hennig, you said?
No, Madden.
Madden. Yeah. Madden was gone the rest of the show. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Hennig sticks around, as we'll see. I think he's there to like September, October, actually. Might be wrong. But we come back from commercial break, and we see that Hogan has found Bischoff, and they're talking, and says Hogan says that Bischoff is giving him an end around, which I'm like, all right. He left the locker room, boys.
Hey, yo.
And Bischoff says, I'm not doing anything. And Bischoff brings Hogan into his locker room and says he's not doing anything to him. And the door shuts. Then out comes Billy Kidman. Billy Kidman gets on the mic. And as I alluded to before, when Hogan's been like saying like Kidman couldn't main event a flea market show, it's just being a real dick. Kidman gets on the mic and says he's been given a get out of jail free card. Says he's been held down by the egomaniacs. Says tonight is his night. Kidman calls out Hogan and says Hogan's been bad mouthing him, making fun of his body. Kidman says he has two things Hogan doesn't have: heart and talent. Says Hogan's tan is being in the spotlight for too long. Kidman says Hogan said Kidman couldn't draw flies, and Kidman says you know better being the pile of shit like you. Kidman says he's calling out Hogan. Says he's wondering if Hogan's balls is as big as his bald spot, which was a pretty good line. Hogan's music, because he doesn't like being made fun of the bald spot, Logan. So Hogan's music comes out and he comes down. He gets on the mic and asks him who the hell did he think he is. Hogan says Kidman's the kind of wrestler that gives young people a bad name. Kidman says Hogan's run is over. Hogan says Kidman isn't in his league. Hogan says Kidman is pussy whipped. No, straight up says pee whipped, not even pussy whipped, Logan. He says you're pee whipped, and then Kidman attacks Hogan and is actually beating him down for like 20 seconds. Then Hogan rolls out of the ring, but Kidman jumps off the ring apron. But Kidman needs guardrail. Hogan then rocks Kidman with punches and throws him into said guardrail. Then Hogan picks up Kidman and throws him like a dart into the ring post and then back into the guardrail. Hogan throws Kidman back into the ring. Hogan calls Kidman a piece of crap. Bischoff comes down very fucking slowly with the chair. And like it's got to wait for Hogan to get in his perfect position. And Bischoff swerves Hogan and hits him with the chair. It's all a swerve, bro. Bischoff then counts the pin of Kidman pinning Hogan. Hogan is bleeding. Actually, it's been said you can actually see Hogan gig himself on, like, if you're looking hard enough with that. I did not see that, but I didn't count this as a match. I like Kidman. He should have gotten a push after stepping up for Sold Out. He basically turns into Hogan's bitch here because he just beats the ever-loving piss out of him. But Kidman got off some good lines. He's not really known for his promos, Logan, but what did you think of all this?
Yeah, I thought as far as promo was pretty good. Got a few good digs in there, but yeah, he does kind of come off looking like a little bitch because Hogan beats him up pretty good. Also, terrible chair shot by Bischoff. I thought it was
all-time bad.
Pretty weak looking. He actually kind of crowns him a good bit with it, but it's not a very good swing, I would say. Kidman can say he at least got a visual pin off of old Hulk at one point in this feud, but I don't see this going very well for Kidman. I would like to think that it does. Like you said, he probably deserves a lot for kind of keeping the mid card afloat during the real tumultuous times a few months ago, especially at Sold Out when he did the 3 matches that he wasn't at all scheduled for. But yeah, I think he deserves a lot. I don't know that I ever really saw him as a world title contender, but he's definitely been a standout on this pod so far.
He's definitely a U.S. title contender. Maybe he gets like the 1 month like challenge or something. But he's definitely a U.S. title. But yeah, it's just like we're definitely setting like Hogan and Bischoff as their feud, and Russo and Flair as the feud. Speaking of Flair, limo pulls up and the man's finally here. We have a commercial break. We see what just happened, and then we see Hogan is backstage throwing shit around. And he says, "God damn it, give me that son of a bitch," as he's like throwing stuff around. We watch Flair seeing what just happened earlier. Flair's music hits and he comes out. And then Flair says, "Russo, if what I'm told is correct," Flair says, "I can't say what I can say about you in 10 seconds, but I can in 10 minutes. Flair says, "Russo grew up watching him, pal." Says, Flair says, "Put the word old away. Use the word great," because Russo called him old earlier. Flair says, "Put his name beside Babe Ruth." Flair says, "This is the only sport where you get your ass kicked when you're old." He says, "When you're great on your own abilities." Flair says Bischoff actually has guts. Flair says if Russo comes out, he can get him off the bottom of his shoe himself. Scott Steiner comes out. He says, "Cut the music," and he calls Flair an old bastard and says, "You are boring me to death." He says that Flair has bleached his teeth, but they're still crooked. And then Steiner says Flair ran all the wrestlers out to WWF, and now they're world champions. He says bastard a lot. Says Flair is 14-time champion because his friends were pulling the strings. It's just real insulting promo, and it keeps going. Steiner says he's going to lower himself to Flair's level, which is low-class white trash from Charlotte. It's just an amazing line. Scotland mocks Rick and says he's a limousine-riding son of a bitch. Shane Douglas then attacks Flair out of nowhere. They say that Shane doesn't work here anymore. Scott's still ranting as like Flair's getting his ass kicked. I don't even know what he says. Flair's knocked out. I guess he had brass knucks or something. But Logan, it seems like Flair is like fighting like 4 different people right here with like Shane Douglas, Scott Steiner still hates him, and Vince Russo. I like Scott Steiner, but even I was like, God damn, this is like over the line. Like it feels like real personal. Like this is how this man felt, right? Like it felt real bad.
I don't know. I came out of this being a big Scott Steiner fan. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just playing.
You bleached your teeth, but your teeth are still crooked. You bastard. You bastard.
That was pretty good. That was a pretty good line.
It was. It was a good line.
But I mean, nobody's insecurity should be, put on display on TV like this on national television, because you could tell it was really getting to him. He didn't like being called old. He probably wasn't a huge fan of that line either. As maybe kind of funny as it probably was, but good.
I will say him saying turning the old thing and they say the word that you mean is great is a hell of a like turn on it, like a pivot, to take it back,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, they got a little too personal throughout this one. But this is kind of what Steiner does at this point. Steiner's kind of a, he's gonna pick apart every little bit of you that he can, and not really hold back. He wasn't really known for holding back on anything. But yeah, Flair's got a lot of enemies at this point. Throughout the years of ECW, Douglas talked a lot of trash about Flair, so we never really got that match or that feud after that point. So as much as it's probably not going to be at all as entertaining as it probably would have been in both of their primes, or even 6 or 7 years earlier than this, it's still something that has been building for a long time between the two of them. So it's definitely an interesting way to go, but. Yeah, he's seemingly feuding with 3 people at once. I mean, I know Russo's probably not in the ring, but at this point at least. But he's obviously feuding with Steiner and or Shane at this point. But I think he's probably going to feud more with Shane at this point, just because he's the one that actually attacked him instead of just yelled at him and stuff like that. So, but we'll see.
Yeah. I like Scott Steiner. Like the whole thing is just damn. Like I felt bad. Like, and Flair like hated it because like he brought it up in his book. I know you've never read it, Logan, because you don't read and you also don't like Ric Flair. Figure out which one's 1A and 1B on that one, guys. But he straight up like like takes digs at like says like no like I still remember this because I read the book like I was in fucking high school, which I don't want to say how long ago it was, but he's like no one remembers who Scott Steiner is, and I'm like, well, compared to you maybe, but yeah, it's yeah, but like I can't really. You should be blaming your boy Hogan about the guys who are world champs because Austin left because of Hogan. Like Austin was being prepped as the new Flair, you know.
And
Triple H,
Dustin
you can't
and
really blame him. Yeah, yeah, you can't really blame like Ric Flair. Triple H really wasn't doing anything. Like Mick Foley, more Bischoff. So like those former WCW guys, yeah. So and then we see Kevin Nash arriving, and he's on crutches. He looks fucking awesome. Um, I'm just happy. He looks so cool just wearing like just regular clothes, Logan. Like, every man,
he's way
coolest
too cool
motherfucker alive.
limping into an arena. Nobody should look that cool that way.
You're right. Like, you know what I'm talking about. And then we see someone in the crowd. I think it's Brett, but they have the lights so goddamn bright. I couldn't fucking make out who it was.
It was Brett, but yes, it was absolutely absurd. Because I didn't know he ever came back, and I was like, "Is that Brett? What? Who is that?"
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know he came back either, and I was like, "Why the fuck are they showing the crowd like this? Like, why is it so bright?" And then they go to commercial break, and then we come back, and they were like, they have like a side angle of it. It's like, oh, we see it's Brett, and it's like, Jesus Christ. But then we see Shane Douglas attacking Flair. Flair is backstage looking for Douglas as well. We got Mean Gene is back with Shane Douglas. Mean Gene says Shane doesn't work here. Shane says he's been doing whatever he wants, and he's doing whatever he wants to do, and says for 7 years he's seen Flair make a mockery of wrestling. Shane says Flair has been franchised, and Shane says he hates Flair's guts. We go back to the ring. Sting comes out, and then Sid is out now, and we got match 2 tonight, guys, which is Sting versus Sid. They circle each other, then a collar and elbow tie-up. Sid forces Sting in the corner, hits him with punches. Sid misses charges in the corner and hangs himself in the corner. Sid hits a Stinger splash, then clotheslines Sid over the top rope. They fight outside, but Sting hits Sid in the gut, and then press slams Sting on the guardrail. Sid picks him up and kicks him. Then Sid throws Sting in the ring. Sid stomps Sting. Sid throws Sting on the ropes, but Sting hits a face buster and then rubs Sting's face into the ring. Sting goes for the splash, but Sid gets his boot up. Sid now chokes Sting with his boot. Sid puts Sting in the Cobra Clutch, and he tries to fight out. Sting slams him. Sid then slams him and gets a 2. Sid puts Sting in a chin lock. Sting fights out, and he hits him with chops and punches. Sting and Sid hit a double clothesline. Then the Wall comes out carrying a table. The Wall sits up the said table. We get a ref bump out of this. Sting hits his first Stinger splash. He goes for the second, but he misses. Sid gets him ready for a power bomb, but Wall hits Sid with a chair. After he's like Sid does power bomb Sting, but then Wall slides in the ring and hits Sid with a chair. Wall then puts Sid through the table on the outside. Security backs the Wall away. The ref is covered by now. The ref counts out Sid. Sting wins. So it's like, so we got Sting versus DDP tonight, and the winner will face Jarrett and Henning, winner at Spring Stampede. Scott Hudson talks about no champions, but how we have no champions, but we will after the Sunday. And I'll pause right there, Logan. This was another like 1-star match, just like maybe a star and like a quarter, but just a lot of nothing going on. We knew some fuckery was going to happen. Sid just seemed like he was going through the motions. I think he disappears after tonight or after Thursday, to be honest, until like I want to say like October. So like he's gone. Spoiler alert. But we'll see what happens. So, but it looks like we're getting Wall versus Sid for the time being. So, that's a good thing because we've said how much we've liked the Wall, and he was even like getting a push with the last people as well. Because remember, he killed Crowbar, and we saw Crowbar being talked about like he was fucking Owen Hart like 12 times on that pay per view. So, what did you think of everything?
Yeah, no, I was excited for a Sid Wall program for sure. If that's where the direction they were going, it seemed like it was. Because like you said, we've liked the Wall so far, and putting him in there with the main event guy, the former world champion, as of this night, he was the world champion coming in, but obviously they stripped all the belts. So, but yeah, that would have been an interesting program going forward. But if he leaves, then obviously we probably won't see too much to do with it. But the match was I thought it was better than the earlier match, but yeah, again, it was pretty much nothing. You could tell something was kind of coming, and like you said, they were kind of a little bit going through the motions. But maybe I just like both of these guys better than the two guys earlier. Um, but I thought the match was all right compared to the first one. But yeah, if we were going to get Wall Sid, that would have been an entertaining way to go. But if Sid's gone after this, then I guess we won't be seeing that.
Yeah, I think he might be on Thunder. That's a big maybe. We'll find out, but I know he's gone for. I think it's softball season, Logan. So there we go. Um, Tony then asks why Bret Hart is here. Tony says coming up next, I don't know what's going to happen. Flair's in the ring and he calls out Shane Douglas. Flair says he's going to make Shane Douglas tonight. And Flair says, Russo, remember this, diamonds are forever, and so is Ric Flair. And then we see Hogan still backstage throwing shit around. We get a commercial break. Hogan beats up 3 count looking for Bischoff. Then we see highlights of the premiere for Ready to Rumble. And we see that Arquette hit Jeff Jarrett with a guitar. So I guess we should count that as two hits, Logan.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So let me update that. Spoiler alert, we got one coming tonight. So yeah. So you've seen Ready to Rumble, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great.
It's not my favorite movie,
Cinematic
like
masterpiece.
Mr. Grunberg, but I did quite enjoy it as a teen.
Yes, it's just amazing. But we see that we're told that David Arquette will be at Thunder on Wednesday. That won't lead to anything, Logan. And then we have Jeff Jarrett come out. Kurt Hennig is out next, and this leads us to match 3. But when Kurt's coming out, Jeff jumps Kurt in the aisleway. They fight in the aisle, and the bell rings.
They fight
Scott
outside on a Jeff Jarrett match. What? They battle around the outside.
This is a shocker to you.
You're kidding.
This is a shocker to you, Logan. He usually keeps it in the ring. He keeps it in the squared circle, Logan. That's where that man keeps it. But Scott Hudson says he's received word that Hogan has been notified that Eric's in a skybox. We're still fighting in the aisle. Then Kurt punches Jeff around the ring. He chops Jeff onto the announce table. Kurt chops Jeff one more time. Then he just rolls in the ring. Then Kurt pulls Jeff up to the apron, but Jeff hits the jawbreaker, so he's slow playing him. Jeff hits Kurt with an elbow and then an Irish whip to a turnbuckle. Jeff gets 10 punches in the corner. Then they both trade punches after that. Jeff gets a sleeper hold on Kurt, but then Kurt hits his back body drop. Both are down, and then music hits that sounds a lot like Mr. Perfect's music. And out comes Shawn Stasiak, formerly known as Meat. Kurt's going for the perfect plex, but Shawn distracts Kurt. Somehow we get a ref bump. I don't see it. But then Shawn Stasiak fucked up some move on Kurt, but then Jeff has to hit the stroke and it's over. Fucking shitty debut that is not talked about for horrible debuts. Like, I don't know what the fuck he was trying to do, Logan, but it was a horrible goddamn move. I don't know what it was. It was so bad that Jeff was like, smart thinking on Jeff. He's like, I got to fucking hit the stroke on this because I'm having a fucking stroke watching Shawn Stasiak trying to do this move to Kurt. This is another 1-star match. Nothing match, Logan. Like, 85% was outside of the ring.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. But yeah, like my first notice, to the shock of absolutely no one, the early part of this match takes place outside. It's a Jeff Jarrett match. Why wrestle in the ring when you're wrestlers? And that's the point of being in a match, is to be in the ring and get a pinfall and or submission. But it is Jeff Jarrett, so he will do what he likes and damn well pleases. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like. I really don't know with Stasiak. Like I can't imagine anybody ever saw anything in him. I mean, he had I won't say he had a lengthy run at WWE, but he was there for a hot minute. And obviously he lasts here till the end. And even goes back to WWE during the Invasion and stuff like that. Like I think he was pretty good in some of those Invasion like comedy segments, but he was kind of the butt of the joke and kind of an idiot in a lot of those things. So I don't know that it makes him necessarily look very well, but I just don't think the guy has any talent. This was an awful debut, like you said. The move he tried to hit was just horrendous to the point where Jeff Jarrett had to hit something else for it to be an effective way to end the match. So, yeah, just an absolutely awful debut. Basically, not even a match, just a brawl on the outside that eventually had a pin after interference. But just, yeah, not a good segment whatsoever.
Yeah, it was. It's just terrible. Just real bad. Like, and it was like it felt like time stood still when he was trying to do whatever the fuck that move was, Logan. Like, I think Stasiak, like, he had his dad, he had like the lineage, so he was a nepo baby, but he had a
I
good
kind of
look
wondered if
as
that was
well.
why he got as much of a look as he did for each company.
Yeah, and he just sucked. Like,
He's
I mean,
terrible.
maybe I'll like him. I liked him in the Natural Born Thrillers because I remember they had the tag teams, so we'll have to keep our eye on that to see if we like him more as a tag team wrestler.
Yeah, we'll see.
But that's coming down the line with the way this is looking. Who knows when we'll be done with this fucking podcast? But we see Hogan in the skybox, but he's grabbing random fans. We see Flair walking backstage as well. Have a commercial break. Nash is on the phone and says Bischoff is out of control when he's talking to someone. Sting's with Mean Gene. And Sting says, with all the trash talk, Sting says since 1988, he's worked his butt off for WCW. And Sting says he's loyal, but he says he's coming for their golden boy because it's showtime. Flair's music hits, and they allude it's Scott Hall that Kevin Nash was talking to, even though I'm pretty sure they had fired him or he was about to be fired. Flair comes out. Flair takes off his Rolex, and he puts it in on the ring apron. He waits for Shane Douglas. Douglas comes out, and we got Flair versus Shane Douglas. Both are in street clothes. I do like this. Like, they're not dressed like it's a match. They're dressed like it's a fucking fight, Logan, which I really liked. So Douglas slides in the ring, and they trade punches. Tony tries to make it sound like Flair is the heel, which I think is interesting when he's just been like getting like babyface. Like, he's been more like a babyface tonight. Like, when, you got Russo calling him a piece of shit and Steiner calling him a bastard. I'm like, I kind of want to cheer for the old guy, right? But they fight on the outside. Flair reverses Irish whip to the guardrail. Flair then chops Shane. Flair chops Shane in the ring, then hits Shane in the nuts. Flair rips off Shane's shirt and chops him again. Shane with an eye poke and then a nut shot of his own. Shane hits Rick with punches and Rick with an eye rake of his own. Shane goes outside and Flair follows him. Both are back in the ring, and Flair peppers Shane with punches. Russo comes out with a bat, and Flair faces him, but Shane then grabs Rick, and Russo hits Flair with the bat with his back turned. Then Shane grabs it and he beats Flair with it, and he just keeps hitting him with the bat. I said, God, Russo is such a fucking putz here. Russo steals Flair's Rolex, and this is when we finally hear that the old guys are the Millionaires Club. And it seems like they're going back and forth and making them heels on commentary, like if they're heels or faces. It's just crazy. And then we see Kevin Nash on crutches backstage getting ready to go to the ring. And I'll stop there, Logan, because it's a commercial break. This was a pretty nice brawl, probably the best brawl we had. I liked it because it felt real. Probably Shane was laying in a shit, and Flair doesn't really like Shane either. So I like that. Russo coming down like with the bat just shows like how he shouldn't be in the fucking ring. And then Flair basically bitching him out with like facing him, but then like the only time he hits him was like when Shane like grabbed him, So looks like our two big angles are Russo versus Flair and Bischoff versus Hogan and whatever the world title shit is. So there is a clear vision for this. Not the vision, not Seth Rollins' vision, but Vince Russo's vision.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that both guys kind of came out in their like dressed up gear, not necessarily their wrestling gear or whatever. So it was kind of treated as a fight brawl. And like you said, they do do a really good job of beating the absolute crap out of each other. I don't know if, like you said, maybe Douglas was laying it in a little bit more than usual, and Flair kind of feels the same way that Douglas does about him. So maybe they were really just beating the crap out of each other because neither of them really like the other one. But Russo, like you said, comes out, cracks Flair with the bat. Even though, like you said, Flair kind of bitches him out there for a second. This was kind of a refereeing flub, I felt like, because literally seconds before the bat gets used, Flair had like low blowed Douglas like right in front of the ref. Yet that wasn't a disqualification, but the bat use was a disqualification. So a little favoritism towards the Nature Boy there by who I don't even remember who the referee was, but little favoritism shown there to Nate. Probably was a little Nate knowing that that's how it kind of worked out. But yeah, we got a low blow right in front of the ref. So when they fuck up, I have to clearly point it out, obviously. But yeah, they leave Flair laying. It'll be Russo's whoever, soldier of the month that he kind of wants to send after Flair to kind of take him out. But I'm sure going forward. But Douglas seems to be the guy right now.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe this will work. If they're sending out Russo sending out goons to take out Flair, that'd be better than like a one-on-one match.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be a fan of that.
Yes. So we take a commercial break. We see what just happened to Flair. Like, it feels like everything is like re fucking peating everything. I guess like this thing of like people are flipping back and forth. That's how they keep everyone abreast. Wolfpack music hits, and out comes Kevin Nash. Nash shouts out Denver and says Big Sexy is in the house. Nash says, we got some jackoffs in the back running around deciding whose careers we're going to make and break. Nash says these two jackoffs are going to play wrestler and attack the boys. Nash shouts out Scott Hall and says, my question is what happened to this sweet little old wrestling show we did every Monday? He asked where the dog was, which made me laugh. Nash says, Russo, Easy E, I'm going to give you all an opportunity, and says he got off the phone with Scott. He says Scott's sober and he's in a real bad mood. Nash says, let's cut to the chase. Neither one of you would be here without Scott and I. Nash says him and Scott saved Russo from being decapitated by HBK and says if it wasn't for the outsiders, then Eric would still be bringing Vern his coffee. Tony says, we are shooting here. Nash says, you want me out? Says to bring your bat, your chair, and bring your balls. Now, Jenny Smith, I don't think you listen to this, but turn off the podcast now. Because Nash is jumped by ECW champion Mike Awesome. Holy shit moment. Mike gets on the mic and says, what I heard, Russo and Bischoff were back in WCW. Awesome says this was too sweet of an opportunity to show up. And he then just leaves after this. But the announcers say how he's the ECW champ and says he'll be defending his title soon. This was a big backstage thing with ECW was wanting to sue WCW. Awesome no-show his events to do this. This leads to an infamous Jenny pause. Just skip 30 seconds if you're listening to Heyman decides he's going to have Taz beat Awesome for the title because WWF versus WCW. That makes the ECW title look like shit. But it's just crazy. We're shooting here. I love Nash. He makes, like I said, he makes everything sound cool. Should be interesting if we get this Mike Awesome versus Nash feud. Who knows if we do? But it's a nice shock moment. But also you can tell Russo's back. It's sort of I brought back Luger. Who can I bring back? Oh, Mike Awesome doesn't really have a contract with ECW because I'm pretty sure none of their contracts were notarized. What do you think of this, Logan? What'd you think, buddy?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. But yeah, I thought Awesome showing up was a cool moment. Definitely didn't see that coming. I knew he came in at some point, obviously, but yeah, I didn't realize he came in on this night. But yeah, definite spoilers for a three-way dance. So anybody that's paying attention to that and hadn't really gone through that era right now, definitely pause and skip this situation for the next 2 or 3 minutes, I would say. But yeah, Nash, shits all over the new authority figures. Says obviously no one would be there without him and Hall and the NWO and all that. So, which I won't say they wouldn't have survived, but he's definitely not wrong. They are a big part of them still being alive at this point, because they weren't. I don't think they were hemorrhaging cash or anything like that before the NWO, but they weren't doing great either. um, but yeah, cool to see Mike Awesome come in. I don't know how real Nash's injury is at this point, so um, we'll see if we get this awesome, Nash match at some point. But he definitely, I definitely think there's somewhat of an injury for him. So we'll see if he's back soon or if it takes a little bit.
I think it takes a little bit.
I
I'm
was
not.
thinking.
So now he's not. I don't know if he wrestles at. I don't think he wrestles at Slamboree. I think maybe Great American Bash. I know he's back in the summer because we've seen some of those horrible clips. So so we see Hogan on the phone talking to his attorney, and he says Kidman's a piece of shit, and Hogan says he's going to eat Bischoff's ass alive, which I didn't realize Bischoff liked his salad toss. Good for you. Hogan then gets in his limo, and the white Hummer from last year hits Hogan's limo, and it's Bischoff who was driving the white Hummer. Eric says, buy your way out of that. Kidman was with Eric, so we find out that Bischoff was driving the Hummer angle from before the podcast started, which was the big summer angle for WCW 99. So we have a commercial break, and we see what just happened. We see that Hogan is on a stretcher, and Kidman spray paints New Blood NB on Hogan. And then Eric asks if he's got a headache, if Hollywood has a headache, which made me laugh. DDP's music hits. He actually gets pyro this time. I was like, way to stay with what you did before. Sting's music hits, and he comes down. Then Jeff Jarrett's music hits, and he gets on commentary. We get match 5, which is Sting versus DDP. Jeff says his destiny comes this Sunday. We get a collar and elbow tie-up. Sting pushes DDP out of the ring. DDP slides in. Collar and elbow tie-up again. DDP hits a shoulder block, and Sting hits his face buster and hits 2 Stinger splashes. Sting puts on a Scorpion Deathlock, but DDP gets the ropes. DDP bails from the ring. DDP gets back in the ring, and they trade punches. Sting knocks down DDP. DDP reverses an Irish whip and throws Sting in the turnbuckle. Then hits belly to belly and gets 2. Then they duck each other's clotheslines. Sting clotheslines DDP to the outside. Jeff Jarrett was talking to Kimberly while this has happened. DDP attacks Jeff, and the ref becomes distracted off of this. We get and while the ref is distracted, Vampiro shows up and he attacks Sting. He hits the nail in the coffin on Sting. DDP gets back in the ring and hits a diamond cutter, and it's over. DDP wins. And then after the match, Jeff gets in the ring and he goes to hit DDP with the guitar, but DDP ducks and Kimberly gets hit. So Logan, our main event for Sunday at least is Jeff Jarrett versus DDP. We see Vampiro, who they were the brothers in paint, him and Sting. They are split up. Vampiro is like staking his claim to go after Sting. So another New Blood Millionaires Club. So yeah, and just another like 1.5 star match. All the matches were rushed tonight because they had to do so many fucking angles. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Just super quick matches. Nothing with much substance whatsoever. Just kind of pushing along some rivalries, getting some rivalries kind of established, like who's going to go after which new guy's going to go after this old guy, and vice versa and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of didn't think they would go with Sting. I think Vamp was kind of out there with the New Blood stuff earlier, so as much as they were seemingly going to be a team when we were last with y'all, I kind of figured that was going to end up being the rivalry at some point. But yeah, DDP's a good choice. I feel like, like I said, I think the result Sunday's not all that in question. But yeah, the stuff with the white Hummer before the match, I mean, I guess a good callback, maybe not. I think it was just a way to pay off a thing that nobody really cared about and kind of probably forgot about from the last year, obviously. I did like the touch of Kidman spray painting NB on
it was nice. I like that a lot.
On Hogan when he was on the stretcher. I thought that was a really good touch. But yeah, the match was nothing. Kind of established, like I said, Vampiro is going to go after Sting, and Page gets the title shot. And then the stuff that happens after the match is just a way to make that match a little bit more personal.
Yeah, which we knew it was coming, but it makes what happens next even make less sense. Because we get a commercial break and we see what just happened to Kimberly. Then for some reason, Bischoff, Russo, and Jeff are backstage, and they tell Jeff to get back in the ring and talk shit. So Jeff comes out, he gets on the mic and says 6 days and counting until the chosen one realizes his destiny. 6 days until he shows a stroke and he's crowned the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Says that DDP wants to bring his wife around again. He can show his wife more wood. DDP then rushes the ring and fights Jarrett. Scott Steiner comes in the ring and then beats down DDP. Luger comes down and he fights off, but then the New Blood come down. They beat down the Millionaires Club. Sting then comes down and he takes on Vampiro. He takes down everyone, but the numbers are too much. Then Booker T and Kat come down. They beat down the Millionaires Club. We get a loud Goldberg chant. Luger is wearing a FUBU jersey when he runs out, which is fucking hilarious because he's wearing a FUBU jersey. But then we see Eric and Russo come out and they're watching from the stage. Then Bret Hart shows up behind Russo and Eric and it goes off the air. And that's how this first episode of, the day the world changed comes to an end of this Russo and Bischoff era, which doesn't last too fucking long. But I will say it did make me want to turn into Thunder to see what happens next. Not because I'm doing this for the pod, just because I will give it to Russo. The beginnings of his story are very good. It's just when he doesn't use logic, which is very quickly. So, but we got the sight line set. What'd you think of this nice brawl to end the show, Logan?
Yeah, I thought the brawl was really nice. I always enjoy something like that. I feel like we had one of those on Linking Up Luchas right here on the Backbone Wrestling Network every other Thursday. But I feel like we had one of those in one of the episodes of that recently, and we really enjoyed that as well. But it's a good way to kind of get everybody involved, show like that there's a real war going on here, and that everybody's involved. Everybody has something that they have going on. So I really like when we do something like that. So I thought it was an effective way to end the show. And yeah, I don't feel like we've talked too glowingly about anything tonight, but I felt a sense of hope. Like if I was watching this live, I would have felt a sense of hope coming out of this, because I felt like they did enough good and there was like enough stuff set up to where I could think and see that maybe it was going to pay off in a good way. But yeah, I mean, I don't think obviously the matches were nothing. But I feel like they set up some good stuff that I thought had potential of being good. And I'm excited to see, I don't know that I'm excited to see Thunder, but I'm excited to at least see the pay-per-view. I think Thunder's kind of just a loss at this point. But we'll continue to watch them obviously. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the pay-per-view, see all the new champions crowned and all that stuff. So, but yeah, good brawl to end the show. I'm always a big fan of that way to kind of end things.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. You hit the nail on the head when you said it's hope, because that's what we have is hope. Everyone seems re-energized and everything. So I just want to see. I just enjoy it. I'm interested to see what happens on Wednesday, and then Spring Stampede, next episode, and 2 episodes after that, and just see where we go with everything. Because I think I know who wins the world title, but I can't remember who wins all the secondary titles. So it should be interesting to see what happens with that. But let's close out the show. What was your most absurd for tonight, Logan?
Just probably the Stasiak stuff. Just how awful and terrible that was. How you could possibly start your career or your next run as badly as that happened.
Yeah, I agree. And for what was good, feelings of hope.
Yeah, and probably the brawl to end things.
Yeah. What was bad for you?
The matches. The matches.
That is something that was not good. All the matches.
Maybe an overabundance of the same guys over and over again. I mean, like I said, Hogan, Flair, and Nash are guys that people are going to cheer for, regardless of whether they're heels or faces. But that they did show them a lot. They showed Hogan walking around the back like 50 times, it seemed like. So,
and we saw Flair watching what happened earlier tonight. Like, there's no reason for us to see that.
yeah.
He could have just been like, "It was what I'm hearing true." So I agree with you on that. So we had 5 matches tonight, 0 clean finishes, 5 non-clean or non-finishes, 0 pole matches tonight. We're still at 5 on that, guys. I thought there'd be more. I was promised more pole matches, but we'll have to see where we go with that. 0 gimmick matches tonight. We're still at 89, which is just shocking. We had 2 guitar shots tonight, so we're up to 27 guitar shots. And also keep in mind, we started tracking this later, so I have a feeling that's about to pick up. 44 different things happened tonight, guys, which is a 2-hour record. I don't think we'll ever beat a 2-hour Nitro or Thunder record. I don't think we're ever going to beat the 69 that a 3-hour Nitro did, but also that was killing us, Logan. We're now up to 39 different title changes due to
all the vacancies. Yes, correct.
All the vacancies. So, but I will give it to Vince Russo. I think we are not smarter than Vince Russo's WCW tonight, Logan, because we both enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think they had a good idea with this whole reboot thing here. I don't know if the purists would love something like this, just kind of vacating all the championships for no reason. But TV wise, I think it had it's a good way to kind of go. You're reestablishing kind of who's in charge and stuff like that. So I definitely think it's, again, gives you some hope that maybe they'll turn things around. I think we'll quickly learn that may not be the case, but I do think at least we can be hopeful at this point that things may be turned around.
Can car crashes be fun? Because I think we might have fun watching this car crash.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we'll have fun watching this car crash, Logan. But that brings us to an end of episode 31. I'm shocked through those 31 episodes. I don't really plan this out, like, which episode they're going to be. But it's 31 episodes. We're at the part where I was most excited for, besides like the first couple of episodes of like how it went. But I'm real excited to see where we go from here. I'm looking forward to Thunder. They left a hook with Bret Hart. Like what's going on with Bret? But that's a bringing into this episode of Are You Smarter Than Vince Russo's WCW. For Scott Shiflett, he's Logan Crossland. Be positive.